ring probably doesn't look like much to you. It is old and tarnished and seemingly unimpressive, but it is absolutely priceless to me. You see, it was given to me one Christmas many, many years ago by my great-grandmother. Great-Grandma Pope, we called her. And Christmas on that side of the family was a very big gathering. It was a blended family, so it was my dad and his 4 siblings plus 3 step-siblings. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins all over the place. There were always cousins everywhere you looked. And great-grandma, by this time, she was already well along in years. She couldn't drive anymore, and it was absolutely impossible for her to go out and buy Christmas presents for all of these great-grandkids. And so she started this thing where she would go through her house and find stuff to give us for Christmas. And I will never forget one year, one of my older cousins actually got a pair of her old pantyhose. And bless her heart, she was mortified. And oh, it's so funny to think now, but Grandma, she just had the most sweetest heart. She loved to give. Well, when I was little, I had a tendency, maybe a little bit like I do now, to be a bit of a wallflower. I would have some loud and crazy moments when I was out playing, but really for the most part, when I was especially in a big crowd and things like Christmas where there was a huge crowd, I just kind of liked to blend in. I was really quiet and shy, and I didn't really think there was anything different or special about me. And then there was the one Christmas. All the presents had been opened, and we were out playing, and Great-Grandma Pope called me into the dining room. She said she had something for me. And that's when she gave me the ring. And she said she had something just a little extra, just for me. And she said she wanted to give it to me because I was special. Still to this day, I have absolutely no idea why she would pick me out of this giant family and give this to me. But I do know that that day, she gave me something that was very priceless. And it's not an old ring that was sitting around in her house, but she made this little girl feel noticed, and she made me feel special. I want to read you a story. It's going to come from the Jesus Storybook Bible. I love this book so much. It's written by Sally Lloyd-Jones. It's illustrated by Yago. It's written for children, but I tell you, this book speaks to my heart so many times. The subtitle is Every Story Whispers His Name. And it whispers Jesus throughout the whole book. It's fantastic, and you should look into it. But in this particular story I want to tell you, it's Jesus telling the parable of the lost treasure, the hidden treasure. And a man is digging in a field, as the parable goes. A man is digging in a field, and he comes across a buried treasure. And he wants the treasure so much, and he decides that it is worth selling everything he owns. He will give up everything he has in order to get this treasure. So he does. He sells everything he has, and he buys the field, and now he owns the treasure as well. But I want you to listen to the author's thoughts that she puts here at the end of the story, because I think it's so neat. She says, God had a treasure too, of course. A treasure that was lost long, long ago. What was God's treasure? His most important thing, the thing God loved best in all the world? God's treasure was his children. It was why Jesus had to come into the world, to find God's treasure and pay the price to win them back. And Jesus would do it, even if it cost him everything he had. Friends, you are God's treasure. And he loved you so much that Jesus came and gave up everything, his very life, so that he could get you back. I want to spend just a few moments in the book of Isaiah. We're going to be looking at Isaiah 43, verse 4. I love the chapter of 43 in Isaiah. I think it's a wonderful chapter, but I just really want to just focus in and dissect verse 4 here. In verse 4, it says this: "Since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I will give men in exchange for you and people in exchange for your life. So breaking that down, since you are precious, this idea of precious. So if something is precious, it has great value. You are precious to God. You have great value to a great and almighty God. Let that soak in for a moment. You have great value to God, since you are precious and honored in my sight. Honored. If we honor someone, the definition for that is to sort of give a public recognition for them. You single them out. God says, you are honored in my sight. In other words, he says, I see you. I see you. You may be in a crowded room with 1 million people, but I see you. The God of the universe looks down from heaven. You are honored in his sight. He sees you. Since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I don't think it gets any more beautiful than that. That God would take time to write in his holy word those 3 words that we all long to hear. I love you. God tells us, I love you. And because I love you, I will give men in exchange for you and people in exchange for your life. Now that's kind of an odd statement, a little bit. And the commentaries are a little bit mixed on not entirely sure of what exactly that's saying. Is it referring to the exchange of nations with when Israel goes into Babylonian captivity? And that is most definitely possible, and that could be what that's referring to there. However, I just find the wording of that very interesting. It says, I will give men in exchange for you. That word exchange there, in a commentary by Edward Young, he kind of translates this idea of exchange into this word ransom. A ransom. When you ransom something, it is giving something for the release of something else. So we could paraphrase that sentence to maybe say, I will give men as a ransom for you. I want you to turn to Matthew chapter 20, verse 28. I get so excited because I love to see the word to start line up like this. Matthew 20, verse 28. Jesus is talking here. He's referring to himself as the Son of Man. And he says, he's telling us why the Son of Man came. And he says, the Son of Man came to give his life as a ransom for many. So our paraphrase of Isaiah, I will give men as a ransom for you. Men, who is above all men, the Son of Man, Jesus. Jesus came as a ransom for you. Why did Jesus come as a ransom? Because we're dirty, rotten sinners, right? Well, yeah, that is. But I think we could say, based on the verses here in Isaiah, that Jesus came as a ransom for you because you are precious to him. You are of great value to him. You are honored in his sight. He looked down and he singled you out because he saw you. He sees you and he loves you. He loves you so much that you are his treasure. And he was willing to give everything for you. What if we started living like we were someone loved by God? What if we saw ourselves as treasured and valuable to a big and mighty God? You are fearfully and wonderfully made. The psalmist declares it in Psalms 139, verse 14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. You know, a lot of times I read this verse and I think of my babies. I think of my girls and I see my girls and I say this. I say, God, I praise you because I see my babies and they are fearfully and wonderfully made. God, you did good. You did good. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. But you know, one day I think he said to me, yeah, they are, aren't they? But Kayla, I think that about you too. Whoa, wait, now wait. Me? Yeah, I made you wonderful too. I don't know how God made you. Maybe you're more quiet, or maybe you're really loud and outgoing. Maybe you feel like you are just as normal as they come, or maybe you're a little bit quirky. Maybe you're brave enough to wear polka dotted pants, and maybe you wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot stick, right? I don't know. I don't know how God made you, but I do know one thing. God made you wonderful. He thinks you are wonderfully made. You are valuable to Him. He sees you. He loves you. And you are His treasure. And if you ever hear anything different than that right there, then it is a lie. Whether you hear it from the world or from other people or from that voice inside of your own head, I want you to realize that that is a lie. And you renounce it as the lie that it is. You take captive that thought in your mind. I want you to actually visualize yourself doing that, taking that thought captive and renouncing it for the lie that it is. And then you speak truth into your mind. You speak the truth and you replace the lie. And you tell yourself, I am wonderfully made. And because I am precious and honored in God's sight, and because He loves me, He sent Jesus for me. He sent Jesus for you because He loves you so much. Precious, valuable, honored, seen, and loved. That is who you are. Live in it today.